Hey everyone, my name is Carlton Herbert, and here's what I put together for Module 1.1 and 1.2. For this assignment, we're tasked with looking at local and civic legacy. Specifically, this is a site for a library to kind of commemorate John McCain and his contributions to the Arizona politics as well as the national politics. And here's some of the direction that we took for the research. So I decided to look at kind of how memorials should be designed for prominent civic leader, some civic engagement that can happen in museums, and then also how to kind of integrate the local culture into the museum design as well. I decided to use AI just to create a couple of quick general concepts of what it could look like, or at least what the AI would think it should look like. For the prompt there, just connecting with local culture and heritage in Tempe, Arizona. And then I also looked at a couple of precedent museums and presidential libraries for Bill Clinton, JFK, and also Harry Truman. Um, and they had a wide variety, as you can see, of styles and elements. And generally, they were trying to try and personify or embody some of the attributes of these presidents. Specifically, researching about John McCain, he had lots of great qualities, some bad qualities as well, but obviously trying to focus on the positive and the ways that we can take that and learn from it and improve in our own ways. Also looking at civic engagement museums, there's lots of kind of community outreach that happens, and it's a great location for civic creations, as well as a way to kind of integrate the local culture. Specifically in Tempe, Arizona, there's a big uh, past history of indigenous peoples in the area, and so that I want to integrate some of that into the museum design. And then just some takeaways here. It We can learn a lot from civic leaders, and we should try and keep their accomplishments in mind when conceptualizing a project to commemorate them. Museums are more than just a place to admire artifacts, and also we should connect in-depth research on the local culture and heritage to make sure that public buildings will actually portray what we're trying to bring to the community. And then I also did some initial site mapping and analysis. This is a 3D model of the site showing some of the topography that's nearby. And then for just some regional context, the site is located in Tempe, Arizona, which is kind of a suburb of Phoenix. And here's some of the mountain ranges that are surrounding the area, as well as some of the bodies of water that are nearby and rivers. Phoenix has seen a lot of development over the years, from a tiny little town to a pretty big metropolis at this point. Some of the interesting locations near our site involve several different kinds of museums, as well as Arizona Capitol is not too far, and the Gila River Lookout. Tempe has also seen a fair amount of development from about 1960 till today. You can kind of tell here there's not too many places to fill in at this point, so this site is pretty rare in that regard for being so close to kind of the downtown Tempe area. Here's the project site and some views from the different cardinal directions. As you can see here, it's a pretty deserty site, and there is an existing ASU building on site, and is very close to a freeway as well as the river nearby. I did some initial analysis on the climate and sun path. It's like I was saying, a very deserty area, very hot and arid, and very little rain in general. But it is close to the river, and so it should have some good access to water. The groundwater anywhere from like 30 to 60 feet. With this site being a little higher up in the topography, maybe closer to 100 to 200 feet. Here's some of the vegetation and canopy cover in the area. In general, there's a fair amount of trees and brush, but they're generally the smaller varieties and don't have a lot of age to them for the most part. There's not a ton of public access using public transit to get to the site, but there are several things that'll get you pretty close. Also, there's not a great access to quality food and grocery. There's some convenience store locations that are nearby, but nothing too great on the grocery store side. And then as far as the zoning goes, it seemed like it was the site currently is zoned some form of residential slash mixed use, but the surrounding areas are mostly industrial and residential and a little bit of commercial and some mixed use as well. There's a very diverse population in Phoenix. The population is right around 1.65 million just in Phoenix. Tempe itself is about 189,000. And most of that is made up of U.S. citizens, and also a pretty good majority have obtained high school diplomas and higher education. That would make sense since ASU does have a base in Tempe. Um, and it is also seems to be grouped that way for married versus single households. There is in the city of Tempe some equity in action, an equitable engagement framework that they have worked through, and they are trying to integrate into their community. As you can see from some of these images, the racial inequity is pretty obvious. So this project should try and take that into consideration. So just to go over some of the issues that I want to address here related to the climate, it should be focused on achieving comfort levels that work with the desert environment. For the hydrology, it should be very considerate of water usage since it is in a desert environment. In issues related to vegetation and green space, we should be trying to preserve any large trees that are on the site and trying to bring in some good hardy desert varieties. For public transit and food access, we should look at tying it into some of the nearby transit stops and making that a little easier to get to. For the zoning and land use, it should probably be looked at as a multi-use or commercial program based on the use. And then for issues related to equity and social justice, we should try and find ways to educate the community on social issues and provide public forum for discussion and improvement for the site. And then here are some of the sources that I use. So overall, I think it's a very interesting site and it will be an interesting project to work on. And I'm excited moving forward. So thanks for taking a look.